This is James Lupton for Slothbox, sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club. Myself and Lynden Dixon are here for the pod episode 1. Lynden, how are you, mate?
Mate, I'm excited for this. This has been in the works for a little while now. But yeah, I feel like boxing's starting to heat up a little bit as well, so I feel like it's the right time to do it. How are you feeling, mate?
Absolutely right. Yeah, like I say, it's been in the works for a little while now in the pipeline. We said we'll do this, so we're going to get it started now, and long may it continue. And like I say, no better place to start than now. And let's start with probably the biggest news that's come in recently, and that is Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. Finally, it's been signed, sealed, not just once, but have a rematch clause in there for before the end of the year as well. So we get it twice this year. Let's give me your thoughts on that, Lyndon.
Mate, I'm buzzing. I think it's the perfect thing because I was looking at the fight and trying to form an opinion on it earlier, and I was just looking, and neither of them have fought more than I think 3 times since 2020, which is mental. So for them, but then I was also looking at the division that they're in, the welterweight division, and for both of the fighters, there's nothing else other than each other. So for them to have the rematch clause, like you say, before the end of the year, it shows that they almost realise that, and they realise what they've got in their hands, which is a massive fight, and twice by the looks of it.
Well, not only that as well. Let's say it goes one apiece. You're looking at a trilogy fight potentially next year as well. Waited years for this to come along just once, and like London buses have all come at once. And
Mm.
like I say, we'll see it twice this year. Hopefully, potentially a third time next year. Just give me a little prediction first one. Break it down. How do you see that one happening?
It's going to be. It's tough to judge because they're both generational talents. I hate that word, but it's true in their own respects. But like I say, I was looking to see has fighter A fought anyone like fighter B. But then the more I was looking at that, I was like I say, I spotted that the inactivity is pretty crazy. So no matter say form is irrelevant, form is out the window. So as soon as that first bell goes, it's hard to predict. And the fighters I've spoke to, like and pundits, whatever I've done interviews with and spoke to about the fight, no one can really give me an answer. No one's gone, oh, definitely Spence, definitely Crawford. It's I haven't got a pick, but if I was forced to, and I feel like that's where I am. I don't like sitting on the fence, but again, I feel like that's where I am. I feel like for the first one, we're not going to talk about who's going to win them all, but for the first one, I'm leaning towards Crawford purely based on just the experience. I feel like he'll have a bit better like ring generalship, but again, is that age going to catch up to him? Is Spence going to come into the later rounds? But yeah, I'm leaning towards Crawford. But what about yourself? If I had to twist your arm a little bit, who are you going to pick, mate?
Do you know what? We said a really good line in there, and that was form goes out the window. And I think it really does.
Mm.
Obviously, like I say, they've been inactive, so there's not really an awful lot of form to go on in terms of current form. But like you say, you look at their records, you look at who they've fought, and you can't really take into consideration this fight because there's so much on the line, so much at stake for both these fighters. This is to decide the best in the division. No two ways about it.
Mm.
For me, I've always said Crawford beats Spence. I stick by that. I still think Crawford wins this. It does worry me a little bit about Spence what's happened outside of the ring over the last few years, from the car crash, etc.
Mm.
And where is he mentally? Is he well enough? Is he focused enough? What's his mindset like? Is it still the same sort of mindset? Or does he now have a little bit less fear where he's been through something traumatic like a car crash, where actually being punched in the head isn't going to be as bad as anything he's experienced? So it could swing the other way and it could really push Spence on. But I'm going to stick with my original prediction and stick with Terence Crawford. But it'd be interesting to see the build up in this one as well. Is it going to be trash talk? Will it be respectful? What are these guys going to be like in this build up? Because we've not seen an awful lot of trash talk from either fighter. But could this fight bring it out of them?
Mm. I think definitely there'll be a lot more respect than maybe say a year ago. Like say the fight was made this time last year, I think we would have been looking forward to the trash talk and such. But I think they've genuinely worked together to get the fight made. Like I think they've been speaking to each other on the phone and stuff like that just to get it over the line, just to actually give the fans what they want. And at the end of the day, once they've both fought each other and maybe had a trilogy, there's nothing left for them. So this is going to be someone's icing on the cake for their career.
You mentioned as well that they got this fight done themselves. This is
Mm.
unheard of in today's day and age. With all these promoters and managers all getting involved and they want their cut of the pie, so they want more money, etc. These guys gone no, they've cut ties with people. They've gone straight in directly with each other and gone, let's get this fight made, and that's massive. And that just shows how much both of these guys want their legacy cemented in the sport.
I think other boxers can definitely learn a lesson from that because, I mean, big fight news, it's always Fury Joshua, Fury Usyk. Just, but like you say, I think I saw a video, it was an old video of Roy Jones Jr., and he was at a press conference and he was saying modern day fighters are too scared to fight each other, they're too scared to lose that O. Whereas you look at these two here, Spence and Crawford, it's almost like they can't wait to lose it. They can't wait to put that on the line, just like you say, to cement their legacy in the sport. And I feel like I just said, a lot of boxers need to take note and learn their lesson.
No, absolutely, and like I say, potentially, if it is the way forward and how other boxers decide to do this, then that could change the game completely, even more so than DAZN changed the game.
Definitely, game change, mate. Game change.
Um, big news over the weekend. Alexander Usyk has signed a multi-fight deal with Skills Challenge Promotions out in Saudi Arabia. This surely just means he's heading towards a Tyson Fury fight in December out in Saudi. I'm a little bit concerned by Tyson Fury and Frank Warren saying they want to fight in September. I feel like it's a little too close to December for my liking, but I just can't see any other reason as to why Usyk would sign with the Saudi promotional outfit over there.
It's strange because I don't think anyone saw it coming, which I love. I love that because, especially just in sport in general, like change the topic slightly. I'm a big Newcastle fan, and since the takeover, it's every rumor since it starts. I'm watching it go right till the end. But this, you just never saw it coming. Well, I definitely didn't on social media. But yeah, in terms of the reasoning behind it, I think it has to be for the Fury fight. What else does? I don't think there's much else for Usyk in the sport other than to prove he is the best at heavyweight, and I think he will. But yeah, it's a really tough one because, like you say, I've seen it. I've seen it as well. Fury and Warren both talking about a fight towards the end of the year. But yeah, it's difficult because there isn't any other reason for Usyk to sign that deal. So surely they must know something, or surely there's a bit of inside information to whether they can make that Fury fight happen before the end of the year. Because, like you say, September's just a bit too close for me.
Definitely. And not only that, I mean, we spoke to Amir Abdallah, who is the director of boxing over in Saudi Arabia with the Skills Challenge Promotions. And I'd asked him, why do you think now is that you can make this fight? Because you failed to do it before. And he just said last time, he wasn't there at the time, but the guy who worked before him, they rushed it. They tried to jump straight in. They wanted it all done there and then, thought they could do it nice and easy. But it's not the case in boxing, let's be honest. We know that's not, it's not straight, or it's not easy to make a fight of that magnitude either. Whereas now he feels like he's got the knowledge, and he's been in boxing a long time. He was Badou Jack's manager. He's a former world champion kickboxer himself. So he's been around combat sports all his life. He knows what he's doing and knows what he's talking about. So yeah, he feels he can get this fight made. We know Saudi. We know that's where the money is for these fighters. Why would you want to fight in the UK when you can make 3 times as much money out in Saudi Arabia? Because let's be real, boxing is a business. You punched in the head, lives are at stake, literally. We've seen injuries. We've seen Lamati recently, who's still in an induced coma. He's come over here probably for a bag of nuts, probably for pennies. We know this, how dangerous the sport is. So why not go to Saudi and make that money and secure your future, your family's future, and their family's future as well?
Definitely, I can 100% see it from that aspect. Like you say, in this sport, you have to sort of take the money whilst you can and run. But a thing I've been thinking about since I saw the announcements and stuff is, obviously, I think there's only one solution, like we're talking about, and that is Fury Usyk. But I think the build-up's going to be interesting because I saw something from Dev Sani on Twitter a couple of days ago, and he was saying it's going to change the narrative on whether, because everyone was saying, "Oh, Fury's actually ducked Usyk," and then Usyk called him out and stuff like that. Well, it's now looking like Usyk almost ducked Fury because he waited. But some people are calling that a duck. Some people are calling that a clever business move. But knowing what Fury's like just from his social media, he'll be all over that. He'll be, look, you waited, you didn't want it then, you didn't want it then. Why do you want it now? Because of the money. And I think that just adds an extra bit of flavour for the build-up of that fight. And the fight's big enough as it is. And mate, I hope we see it before the end of the year.
Absolutely. And on that point, I feel like it's not the fighters. We know the fighters will fight. Fury will fight anybody. Usyk, we've seen, will fight anybody anywhere. He's not fought at home for God knows how long, if ever, as a professional. I've not looked for his record and seen location of fights, but his last however many years in boxing have always been the away fighter as such. He hasn't fought in the Ukraine. He's fighting in Poland next against Dubois, and that's as close as he can get to the Ukraine at the moment. With the Ukraine being at war with Russia, Poland is about a 40-minute drive across the border from the Ukraine. So the Ukrainian fans will come out in force and support him. And that's a bit of his homecoming against Dubois. Obviously, mandatory. He's got to get it out of the way before he can go on to the bigger fight. So that's penciled in for the end of August. Again, a little bit close to the December date, but I think with Usyk, he's a strict professional. I believe both fighters would fight each other probably for nothing, if we're being real. But it's more the teams. Who's teamed up to whose team? Is it Queensbury? Is it Usyk promotional team? Is it Krasic, etc.? Who is it? We don't know. We'll never know. But get the fight made. We don't care.
But that's the thing. We're seeing all this on Twitter, and if I'm completely honest with you now, I forgot for a split second over the past couple of days that he was even fighting Dubois. And that's the thing. It's almost like Fury. It's Fury. Yeah, we're finally going to see it. But like you said, Daniel Dubois ain't no slouch. He's got the power, and he's a young man compared to Usyk. So, mate, that could throw a spanner in the works. What if Dubois beats him? A lucky punch that gets through. He won't. I know. I agree with you. I'm not seeing a chance how he does, but there's a puncher's chance, of course. Imagine just for a second if Dubois beats him. What happens then? What happens?
This is the thing, and this is why it's risky to take another fight in the summer. Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder are going to be facing off in December as well on the same card as the Usyk Fury. If it gets made, they're talking about AJ, Dillian White. They're talking about obviously Usyk Dubois has already signed a done deal. It's got a Fury fight in September. If any one of these guys lose these fights, they're out of that tournament. They're not fighting in December in Saudi Arabia, from what I can gather. So it's a big, big risk. So why would they take a big risk, for little reward, really? So, I love Daniel Dubois. He's a nice guy. I've met him a few times. I love his team. His manager, Mike Bowers, I think he's a real, real good guy in boxing. But I can't see past Alexander Usyk. I think Alexander Usyk is rightfully the number one pound for pound in the world. He's just, like I say, he's been away. To do what he's done through cruiserweight and then to come into heavyweight and still go through to the world title level and win world championship at heavyweight as well. And again, defeat Anthony Joshua in a rematch, giving him that rematch first of all, and then beating him again convincingly. It's, for me, he's done unbelievable in his career so far, and will probably continue to do more unbelievable things. And it's a real tough call, the Usyk Fury fight, because I feel they're both very similar in terms of the skill wise, their footwork, etc. They're both nice, neat, tidy boxers. But how big's too big? Because Tyson Fury's big.
He is massive, and that's the thing. I can't remember. I can't give the credit to it, but I can't remember what it was. I saw someone say something along the lines of, "Fury's getting old now." I feel like each time he fights, we're saying the same thing. Oh, is his age going to catch up to him? Is he finally going to do this? But is it now finally going to catch up to him? He's an old man in terms of the sport, but when you have the talent of Fury, age doesn't really mean a thing. So it'll be interesting to see, because those Wilder punches, I'm sure, have hurt and took away some of that chin. Like we saw with Joyce against Zhang, you can't keep taking punches forever. And Fury, I'm not saying that Fury has took punches throughout his whole career. He hasn't. But if someone like Wilder hits you and knocks you down several times over 3 fights, it's going to have an effect. But is Usyk even going to get there? Is Usyk going to find a way through Fury's defense? At the minute, I don't even want to think about it. I can't pick either one. But yeah, I just feel like you say, it's going to be a cracking fight.
To all those who are, on social media saying things like Tyson Fury's too old, Father Time's going to catch him. I think he's about 33 years old. I think Usyk's older than Tyson Fury. So, whoever's tweeting that out and things like that, they need to have a little look and go, actually, who's the opponent? They've got a long amateur career as well, and Usyk, how much punishment has he taken for his amateur career as well? He's had about, 2,000 fights as an amateur or something like that, like all these Ukrainians and that. But, a few hundred fights. And, it's a long amateur career, that. And I think he's about 35, without fact checking. I think he's about 35. Fury's about 32, 33. They're similar in age. There's not going to be a lot between the two fighters.
And that's the thing. That's just me splitting hairs. I can't really pick anything between it. The only thing there is that size. But with Usyk, I'm sure he's fought someone in those 2,000 fights. No, he would have come across someone like Fury before. Maybe not his twin, but someone close.
He beat Joe Joyce as an amateur in the WSB. So, Joe Joyce is a big lump.
He is a big lump. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, mate. Let's leave it there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
We talk about a close age gap there. Someone or two, well, a fighter and a former fighter with a big age gap. Promoter and fighter, I should say now. Ryan Garcia, Oscar De La Hoya, bit of a Twitter beef, bit of a little row over Twitter, and it's all a bit messy, really.
Mate, I hate to see it when, like you say, it is messy, mate, and messy stuff should be left behind closed doors. I mean, I'm sure we've all been out in public before and seen a couple arguing. It's not nice to see. You just think, just get out, get away, just take that stuff home. And I feel like this argument should have been carried out behind closed doors because, for me, Garcia's sort of in the right. He feels he was left on his own. He feels that Tank's team actually looked after him more after the fight than his own team did. But yeah, like you say, mate, it's just a big mess, and yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of it all until it folds out a little bit more.
It's not the first time that Oscar De La Hoya has taken to Twitter and social media to have a little rant publicly about his fighters, and I mean that's not a good business move, is it? I mean, who's going to want to sign for Golden Boy Promotions when your promoter and manager or whatever you want to call him will eventually just come out and slag you off on social media?
And especially when he's slagging off Golden Boy's biggest asset in Ryan Garcia. It's not like he's just the guy that he's expendable, he can sort of get rid of. From a business point of view, he needs to keep both hands on Ryan Garcia because, like you say, after seeing this, if you're a fighter, no chance of you going there. When you're watching other promoters, how they conduct themselves, it's professional, but nah, Oscar's, I think he's lost it a little bit here. Don't know what's up with him. I saw Eddie Hearn talking about it the other day. I think it was an interview on IFL, and he was saying that it's been waiting to happen. It's been boiling up for a long time, and it's finally about to explode. That was the word. It's going to explode now, and I don't want to see it. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's so unnecessary. It should be behind closed doors. Just sort it out. If you're gonna split, split. If you're not, then kiss and make up.
I mean, you would have thought that Oscar would have learnt his lesson by now after the Canelo debacle when, he lost who was his biggest asset, probably the biggest asset in boxing, full stop. He's the biggest money maker in the sport. And because he came out publicly and because he, done this and that and he aired his dirty laundry and Canelo Alvarez was like, right, okay, cool, see you later. I don't need you. I'm bigger than you as a promotional company, and that is correct. And so is Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia could leave and he could do a Devin Haney, make his own promotional outfit, still make the money, make more money for himself. So much like Sugar Ray Leonard did as well in his career. He made his own money. He didn't go with a promoter early doors. He made sure he had the rights to all his fights and he made all this money. He had a great business head. And Ryan Garcia is a sizable asset in the sport who can go and do that himself as well. He can leave Oscar. He can walk into any promotional outfit, or like I say, he could just go on his own and be a sole free agent as such and fight whoever on whatever platform he wants.
Mm. The thing is with De La Hoya, if you look at him, he was a cracking pro. There's no denying that. A Hall of Famer. Like, it's easy. He was a brilliant fighter, but promoter. I mean, like you say, Canelo, Garcia. Who's going to be next? It's the track record's growing for me. Just looking at it just from my bedroom here, but yeah, it is like you say. It's airing that dirty laundry and not leave the fighters aside for a second. If you're another promoter, if you're another network, why would you want to work with this guy? If something goes wrong, it's out in the news straight away, and yeah, it's messy.
Absolutely. And like I say, great fighter. He's got the name in the pool to be a good promoter, but is he good enough to be the face of the promotional outfit? Because I'm sure there's people in the background
Mm.
working on his behalf who are pulling the strings and doing the work and who are making GBP a successful promotional outfit. But he's letting the side down by the fact that he's the face. He's the one at the forefront. He's the name of this promotional company, and he's the one who's going out on social media, making himself look silly. He's what, a 50-odd-year-old man, and he's taken social media to have a little rant at a, 23, 24-year-old Ryan Garcia saying, listen, suck it up, you lost.
Yeah,
Let's be honest, why you lost. Well, hang on, that's your fighter.
yeah,
Rebuild your fight. Don't turn around and tell him, well, you lost because of this, not because of me. Well, no, rebuild him. Get him into another big fight. Get him in. They're trying to make the Rolly Romero fight. It's another title there on the line. In my opinion, an easy win for Ryan Garcia.
mm.
And then he claims a belt. He's a world champion. And then you hold the cards again. Instead, you go onto Twitter and you're slagging your boy off.
Mate. The thing is, it's getting a bit out of hand now because just think about it just for a second. who's going to give De La Hoya a slap on the wrist? Who's going to rein him in? Is there anyone that can rein him in and tell him where to draw the line? Does he see himself as the boss? Is he going to listen to advisors and people around him to say, "Hang on, you've done something wrong," and accept it for what it is? Maybe he needs to accept it for what it is, rather than Garcia. He's put the foot wrong, and maybe needs to take his own advice and sort it out.
No, absolutely, I agree completely. Anyway, enough about the social media beef. Let's look ahead to the weekend's action. Massive fight over in New York, first of all, with Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez. Um, it's a big, big fight for the winner. Both guys coming off some criticism. Both of them had dubious scorecards and judging, etc. So both of them want to put that right, and they want to win in style. They want to make sure that the fans know I'm the real deal still. So it's a big, big fight for both guys. And with Teofimo's getting a bit personal. He says he wants to, like Wilder didn't want to body him a record. He's saying he wants to kill Josh Taylor. And, it's overstepping the mark. And just how much of that is he overdoing? How much of that is going into his head? Because if that's the mindset you're going into, then you're not going to come out of it well yourself. Just first of all, on those comments, Lyndon, what did you make of that?
First of all, the comments bang out of order. I don't think he means it. I think he's just trying to drum up the interest for a fight, because the thing is, boxing's starting to pick up a little bit, like it does every few times. It happens a few times a year. Boxing gets in the news, and he's got a massive fight coming up for himself and for the boxing purists. They know this is a huge fight, but it hasn't really been in the news recently. But him saying that and those words, hook, line, and sinker, he drew the criticism. But a few more people might tune into that fight now. But again, like I said at the start, it's bang out of order. But the thing is, for me, I'm really excited for this fight, regardless of what's been said and the criticism and the scorecards from other fights. I think people are forgetting the danger that Josh Taylor is. Against Catterall, he had an off night. Everyone said that. Catterall won pure and simple. He didn't on the scorecards, but everyone else knew he won. But that Taylor, how many fights has he had before that? How good was he before that? Everyone was saying that he could go on to be one of the pound for pound greats of his generation. And just for one night of boxing, people forget everything he's done before. So, mate, I'm really excited. Just purely for that reason alone, I'm excited to see what Josh Taylor would get. Is the Josh Taylor of old gone? Has the Catterall win, in quotation marks, affected him? But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens come the weekend.
Absolutely. And I was in the gym with Josh Taylor the other week. I was watching him sparring, I was watching him train and warm up, and he's looking sharp. This is a few weeks out as well. I'm talking 2-3 weeks ago. So you're talking 4 or 5 weeks away from fight night, and he's looking sharp. He's looking good. He's looking trim. I don't think he's ever out of shape. Don't get me wrong, but he's looking good in the gym, and you can tell he wants it. You can tell that he's ready for this. He was focused. He was zoned in. He was in the gym, not talking to nobody, just doing his warm up, just getting ready by himself, nice and chilled. In a busy rotunda gym as well, there's a lot of guys in there. You've got your Darren Till in there, you've got your Kevin Ajago in there, you've got your Frankie Stringers in there. From the youngsters all the way up to these pros, and like I say, Darren Till, UFC fighter, and big names. Stephen Smith, Liam Smith, Callum Smith, all in and out of this gym. And Josh Taylor's focused, zoned in, not talking to anybody. And this is, like I say, 4 or 5 weeks out from fight night, and he's in the zone. So for me, I think Josh is going in there to make a statement. I think Teofimo, if he means those comments or had a slightest inkling of meaning behind that, I think he's got too emotional by this. He can go in there and he will leave himself open. And Josh Taylor's no mug. He can bang. For me, still the number 1 pound for pound British fighter. Regardless of the Catterall result, like I said, it's an off night. They all have them. Every fighter will have an off night. Not every fighter is going to look amazing every fight. You ask anyone now who's the best fighter in history, they'll tell you Lennox Lewis, they'll tell you Mike Tyson, they'll tell you Muhammad Ali. They all had off nights. They all lost. Josh Taylor's never lost a fight technically. He's never lost a fight. It's an undefeated record. Only for me, Sonny Edwards is close to catching him as a British pound for pound number 1. Tyson Fury also, but the inactivity plays a part in that for Fury and for Josh Taylor. That's why Sonny Edwards is close on him for me. But I see a big performance from Josh Taylor. I'm a big fan of Teofimo Lopez. I've spoken to Teofimo, been very lucky to speak to Teofimo and meet Teofimo on a number of occasions. But in this fight, I feel he's too emotional in it. I feel he's too attached to this fight in terms of, I think he's got too much to lose. I think he knows that. I don't think his dad helps him. I think his dad drums it into him as well. I think his dad drums in too much negativity into his head. So I'm expecting a big performance from both guys, but I expect Josh Taylor to come out victorious on the night over in New York, and he'll be in front of Tiafimo's fans as well. Because let's be real, Tiafimo's Madison Square Gardens, New York, is his second home. It's the first time I believe that Josh Taylor's fought at Madison Square Gardens, so it's going to be a big occasion for him as well. He's going to want to impress there. He's going to want to get the win there because it's not an iconic venue. If not the most iconic venue in the world of boxing. So he'll want to put on a performance, and it just makes for a great clash, really.
The thing is, you hit the nail on the head. Tiafimo's emotions are through the roof, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a bit of social media hype about the end of his last fight. He got emotional. I think he cried in the ring, and there was a lot of emotion and drama building up to that fight as well. But mate, a big problem I've got in the sport of boxing. It isn't the scorecards. It isn't the fans. It isn't the casuals. It's boxing dads. I've had enough of boxing dads in boxing. There ain't many you can look at. There's a handful you look at and think, he's doing the job properly. But the ones that are doing the job properly, they're behind the scenes. Their sons are the fighters. Their daughters are the fighters. They're the ones getting the spotlight. But Teofimo Lopez Sr., I think, and John Fury, they're the prime examples of how not to be a boxing dad for me. I think they put too much. The pressure that it brings from the social media it's unnecessary. But like you said, there's so much on the line for Teofimo on Saturday, but you just know the build up through the week is going to be, oh my God, have you seen his dad? I can see it already before it's even happened. But yeah, it's a difficult one because there is a lot on the line, like we've both said. It's what does Teofimo do if he loses? And I think he will lose to Josh Taylor. What does he do next?
It's a real interesting one, and for both of them, what do they both do next for whoever loses? You would think it would take a long rebuild to get back to the top. It's a tough one for both men really because, like I say, after the controversial last decision, a lot of people count that as 2 losses back to back. So it's definitely a tough move next for the loser, but the winner goes on, and who knows what fights we could see next for the winner. The sky's the limit really for the winner, and it just makes it exciting again. That 140-pound division is exciting, so it'd be great to see what's going to happen next with those guys, and it's an exciting fight I'm looking forward to. Also, the same night, a little bit earlier on UK time, Sonny Edwards, I mentioned a moment ago, is one of the best in the Britain, pound for pound. He's one of the best in the world, let's be real. Unbelievable fighter. He's really bringing the smaller, lighter weights out to the forefront of boxing, really. He's fighting, correct me if I'm wrong, Andreas Campos, Chilean.
Yep.
Who's a solid little fighter, to be fair. He's a good little fighter, managed by Tony Tolge, good friend of the channel, who raves about him and has done for years. I interviewed Andre years ago because his manager put him onto himself and said, look, this guy's real good. At the time, I think he was ranked top 20 in the world, something like that. And now he's got his shot. He's looking to shock the world, and it's an interesting fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can't see past Sonny Edwards. I don't think anybody beats Sonny Edwards at his weight or even the weight above potentially. I think Sonny is that good. But it is an exciting fight. It should be an intriguing fight. Campos will come to win. He's not going to come to lay down and roll over. Like I mentioned, Tony Tolge's manager, the same management team as the Maloney brothers, Alex Winwood. And these guys, they come to win. They're not there to make up numbers at all. So it's a really intriguing fight, and it'll be a good test for Sonny. It'll be something that he's not really faced before, I don't believe. So it'll be interesting to see how Sonny reacts to a fighter who's going to come onto him and attack him over and over again. We could see, if it brings out any sort of power or anything like that in Sonny, rather than the footwork and the slickness, it would bring out a different side to Sonny's game. What are you thinking about this fight? Are you looking forward to it?
Oh, mate, I'm completely in agreement with yourself. Sonny's one of my favourite fighters, not just UK, like on the planet. He's one of my favourite fighters to watch. It's such a beautiful, slick, cheeky style of boxing, and its quality. I think it sort of is parallel to his personality. He's quite cocky, quite cheeky, and his style of boxing, like I say, it's a mirror image of that. But it's his maiden voyage for Matchroom, and he's been toying with Eddie for a few years. Come and sign me. I'll make you loads of money. I'll beat all your fighters. And I feel like not only is he going to want to put on a show on the Zone, a huge platform, he's going to want to put on a show in front of Eddie on Saturday night and show him, look, this is what I can do. you're going to want to back me when I'm in the ring against Bam Rodriguez. And Andres Campos, I haven't really heard too much of him. I'm not going to lie and say, yeah, he's quality. I don't really know too much about the guy, but it's difficult because looking at Sonny, I feel like I can just deal with most styles. Whether you're gonna try and pick him off, try and come in aggressive and surprise him, anything seems to work in his favour, and he seems to look good doing it as well. So it's going to be interesting because, like I said, personally, he's got a lot on the line of, yeah, I'm gonna show Eddie, I'm gonna show the zone what I can do. So I think we're going to see something special on Saturday night, not just a good win.
You mentioned his character and his personality, and he's cheeky, he's cocky.
Mm.
What do you make of his social media presence? Because obviously nowadays social media, it's all about marketing yourself as a fighter, and obviously that's what sells tickets. Whether people buy tickets to watch him win or lose, people are buying tickets.
Mm.
What do you make of his social media presence? Do you think he's utilised it well?
Oh, mate, I love it. I think he's any boxer on the come up should look at how he does it because it's strange because he's quite cocky. He calls people out. He has mini Twitter beefs with either fans or other fighters, but somehow it all just still seems real. But I mean, you look at other fighters and you just think, have a word, mate. Your PR man's just told you what to reply there. But everything with Sonny, it seems real, and I think boxers can learn that lesson of just be yourself. That is what it is, and yeah, I don't care. I love seeing all this social media stuff. Like I say, other guys take it too far, but I think he does it perfectly in a social media day and age.
Just finally, Lyndon, you mentioned Bam Rodriguez, and there's other fights out there. Nakatani you mentioned today on social media, I think it was, and there's some big fights out there for him. It's, there's not many fighters that can turn around and say, "Oh, we'll go out and fight anybody," and all these guys he's calling out are all killers. It's a murderer's row of fighters, really.
Mm.
But he wants them all lined up one after the other. He put a tweet out recently saying, "Oh, have these three fighters. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner sorted."
Mm.
Like, so confident in his ability, and like I say, I think it just makes it. It's a good thing for boxing, a good thing for him in terms of his marketing, and he knows what he wants. He wants to go out there, he wants to get it.
Mate, he's almost like, for me, he's like the John Wick of boxing. It's like he's got his target, he's going to take out who's next, who's next, who's next, till he gets to the top guy. And it doesn't matter how many of you there are, how dangerous you are, this man is going to get what he wants, which is the win in any style, any way possible. And yeah, I don't really think it matters the strength, the records, the knockouts that anyone has. I think Sonny, I can't see him, from all of his performances prior to now, I can't see anyone beating him in anyway, power, skill, I can't see it.
Do you think that the only way Sonny's beaten is by him moving up too far in weight?
Yeah. Looking at it like that, that is the only way because you get caught at any weight, it will leave a mark. But yeah, like you say, if you go up the weight divisions, then you're not used to that stuff. It don't matter how long you've been sparring for a camp or whatever, you're not used to that. You've been fighting at his optimal weight for years, and going up in weight for any boxer that goes up in weight is just trying to achieve more greatness. So yeah, I feel like that is a way he could get caught out. But other than that, like I say, I'm sticking to my word. I can't see how anyone beats him.
How big, say, a year, 18 months, 2 years down the line, could a fight be between Sonny Edwards and Galal Yafai?
Oh, mate, imagine that at like in a big arena in the UK. And I think the only way that fight is as big as we can both picture it is if Galal Yafai is built up properly. I think Edwards has got it. He's got the personality. He's going to have the record in 2 years' time. But Galal, I think maybe it's time to start moving him through the ranks a bit quicker. I mean, when I spoke to him, I think it was on the AJ undercard, he was a bit disappointed with the pace of his career. I mean, he's having good fights and he's fighting good people, but I think because he knows his pedigree, he knows he can be moved on a lot quicker than he is, and I feel like the public do as well. It doesn't really matter about it. Doesn't the thing is that is the fight to make. And like I said, it's about building Galal your fighter, put him in there with Sonny, because in 2 years' time, maybe Sonny will slip up and Galal might be the one that takes all those crowns that Sonny's going to collect over the next 18 months.
Definitely. And you mentioned about activity there with your fire. It would be good to see him out more active, and something along the lines of Adam Aziz's career so far. He's out regularly. He's out a lot, and Adam Azim's headlining cards over at Boxer. They're putting all their eggs in one basket almost with Adam Seaman. You can see why. He's been on fast track. He's given headline fights. At the smaller venues, your York halls, but York hall's a proper boxing venue. And like I say, that experience of being a headline is, it's unrivaled really. So I think that could be something I could look at and mirror that with Yefai, because you can rush him, you can bring him through the ranks quickly. I don't know if you took him out to America and they're building his profile out there, but build it big here first. Get the UK fans all behind him. Get them knowing his name. Because at the minute, you talk about flyweights, you talk about Sonny Edwards. You don't talk about the guys on the come up. You talk about Sonny Edwards, and that's that. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with him next, and see if they do look at any other opponents and take any notes on what they're doing as well. But we're going to call it a wrap there. Lynden, thank you very much for your time today. That's episode 1 in the bag of the pod. Episode 2 next week, and we will be looking at Adam Azim's fight, because he's fighting that weekend. So we'll talk a little bit more about Adam Azim and what's happened in the week coming up.
Looking forward to it, mate.